If only I had known these years ago, I would have saved myself so much wasted time. And I can't help me then, but I can help you now to avoid these mistakes that 99% of people fall into. And what's crazy is that most of these are the exact opposite of what the generic weight loss advice tends to recommend. The most overlooked reason why you're probably struggling to lose fat is something that I struggled with for years, and it took me a long time to figure this out until it finally just clicked. I just wasn't sleeping enough. But there's this super critical reason why sleep is so vital for fat loss. And it's probably not what you expect. I used to think just grinding through the workouts and doing more was always the better option, which actually led to me, staying up really late, trying to get a lot of different things done, and then still getting up at like 4 in the morning just so that I could get my hour-long workout in. And then, of course, I'd end up only getting like 4 hours of sleep. And what's ridiculous is that this is just the complete backwards. It's completely opposite, but it's what the industry actually, I think I'm in poison ivy. I'm in poison ivy. But what is ridiculous is that this is just the complete opposite of what you should be doing. And it's pushed even more by this whole idea of like no pain, no gain. This idea that you have to push 75 hard, keep going, make your body hurt. You're not even just gonna be getting no results. You could be setting yourself back. Sleep is massive for recovery, for hormonal balance, and it's going to impact just how you feel when you eat. Like, you're gonna feel full, or you're gonna feel like ravenously hungry and craving all the foods that are gonna make it really hard for you to actually lose weight. Sleep honestly becomes like a natural steroid, which is ridiculous. But what's even better than that is how getting more sleep actually helps you to avoid this next mistake. That's actually slashing your calories just way too fast. And whether or not I was tracking food or not, the tendency was just to want to like eat less, keep eating less, because that means I'm gonna lose. And I remember running into spots where the scale wasn't dropping, so therefore I'd cut calories more, add more activity, to the point where I was eating so little and still not seeing results. And unfortunately, it's this idea, again, of going like balls to the walls, like, suffer through it, because that's what's gonna get you the body that you want. But the reality is that transforming your body, being able to lose weight, lose body fat, is a process that has to be done through managing stress in your body. And what you gotta remember is fat is an insurance policy that your body wants to hold on to. So it wants to hold on to it for an emergency. So if stress is high, your environment stress is high because food is scarce, your body's going, what's going on here? Hold on to this, because we got to hold on to it as long as we can. So you got to find a way to make it so that your body doesn't see things as a dire emergency, so that it's willing to let go of some of that fat. And that took me a really long time to figure out. But what helped me even more was, as I got more sleep, helped to improve my hormonal balance, my appetite, and you're going to be satiated more easily, which means now you can sustain this diet, this deficit, for a longer period, get faster results, and then not be tempted to want to slash calories, because your body is just nicely letting go of fat. That is, though, as long as you manage to avoid this next mistake before starting your diet. You need to be going into this not trying to lose weight really fast, which I know nobody wants to hear, right? Everyone wants to lose weight really fast. But the reality is that when you do that and you don't see the results as fast as you think you should, it's then going to cause you to make mistake number 2 even more, because you're not seeing results, because you think it's supposed to be happening fast. So therefore you start slashing calories and hoping that that's going to help you get there faster, and then it causes even more problems. But even more so than this is just the fact that this is going to cause you to mentally struggle, because remember that point about sustainability? This has got to be sustainable, which also means you need to mentally be able to sustain it. And when you're dealing with expectations not being met quickly enough, it just leads you to discouragement. You're frustrated. I felt that time and time again. I would hate stepping on the scale, seeing that the number on the scale did not go down, forgetting that there's more to it than just that. And what you got to remember is, what does the data actually show? For me, I always want to go back to the data, and it all comes back to sustainability. Make small, simple changes, which I learned to do over time, small, simple changes over the past 10 years, that then allowed me to really just have all this run on autopilot, so I didn't have to think about it as much. And it was super sustainable, because it's just how I do life now. And speaking of small, simple changes, there was one change that I failed to make that I think is probably one of my biggest mistakes yet. Just going for walks. Because did you know what actually burns the most amount of calories in your body? It's actually just existing, just your body being there. It's called BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And now even further, what's crazy is just take your body that's already burning calories just existing and now just move it places. Go for a walk here, or maybe even here. Yeah, definitely here. Just this light general movement all day long. It's low impact, it's low stress, and what's cool is that this type of movement actually encourages your body to want to burn fat as a fuel source versus when you're doing something more explosive or even weightlifting, where your body's gonna wanna pull a more powerful fuel source from glycogen, which tends to come from carbohydrates. But this is a great way to just mobilize fat. So just aim to get like 8,000 to 10,000 steps. That's been a great goal for me over the years, and watch what happens. But what you're doing with this is just building these small, simple habits. But what you're doing with this is just building these small, simple habits. And as you do that, it's going to make you far less likely to actually fall into the next mistake. And that's actually just focusing on this. Just trying to get the number on the scale to go down. Because here's the problem with doing that, is it's going to create a massive snowball effect of problems that will just keep getting worse. And here's why. Because when you're just trying to focus on the number on the scale to get it to go down, and all that you want is that number to change, it's gonna cause you to be much more likely to make any of these previous mistakes that we just talked about just to get the number to go down. But what I had to learn was that this is just one data point. Because did you know that you can actually see the number on the scale go down and actually add body fat to your body?
What?
One of the most important things that I've learned over these years is to focus way less on the scale and not chasing a number on the scale, but rather chasing my health, chasing longevity, because the aesthetics will follow when you do that. Now you can chase the number on the scale, but what's gonna happen instead is that you're going to lose your health, lose your longevity, and you're not gonna get the aesthetics anyways. But what's crazy about overly focusing on the scale is that it's gonna make this next mistake even more costly. And I think you'll be shocked when you find out why. What? Don't judge. I have an inner child inside screaming to get out. Because every time that I would go on vacation, I would just lose all my progress and gain all the way right back. Because what's crazy is that there's a lie that most people believe about going on vacation, and you probably actually believed it yourself, but the problem is it's gonna wreck all of your progress. And it's this idea that you wanna like lose as much weight as possible, as fast as possible, leading up to your trip so that you can look good. Which I totally understand, like who doesn't want to look good for a trip? But here's what can happen when you do that, because I'm living proof of it. Because years ago, I actually spent 15 weeks trying to lose 15 pounds, but it was actually all leading up to a vacation. And when I went on that vacation, I did all of these mistakes that I've already mentioned on top of this one. And so it put me in a perfect storm to actually want to throw off any restrictions and every restriction, and then be surrounded by all of this ridiculous amounts of food and not have to think about what I was eating. Because you see, the problem with that is that you're going to set yourself up for failure, because by the time I got back from this trip, I actually had gained basically all of the weight back, which was really discouraging. So instead, there's actually something way easier that you can do that's going to set you up for success. So the better way to actually do this is to prepare yourself leading up to a trip. So essentially what it looked like for me was training my body to need more calories. So instead of being hyper-focused on just getting shredded, I lifted weights, ate enough protein, and actually reverse dieted my way up so that I required more calories. So what's cool is that your body composition is going to change during this process. So sure, you may not be as lean as you really want to, but this is about the long game. This is not just about a moment in time, because that moment in time is gonna pass, and then you're gonna be worse off than you were before that. So the next time I went on a trip, I actually went through this process and I trained my metabolism to need more energy, and I enjoyed myself on the trip. I ate what I wanted to, enjoyed drinks and stuff by the pool, and by the time I got home, without even trying, I actually lost weight. But speaking of without even trying, the next mistake that I made, I could have completely avoided if I had just known about this one massive food hack. And the crazy thing about it is it's gonna allow you to lose weight without even really thinking about it. So years ago, my idea of a good lunch was cottage cheese with frozen fruit. And although that's not a terrible idea, there's something even better that I could have picked that actually would have made me feel way less hungry. And while I explain that, I want you to think about like, what's the difference between something like a raspberry, fresh raspberries, and something like this? Because for weight loss to be possible, it needs to be sustainable. That means we really can't be starving while we're trying to lose weight, because we're not gonna be able to sustain it because we're just hungry all the time. It's gonna be miserable and you're gonna give up. But we need it simple enough to actually be able to maintain a deficit, to take in less energy than our body actually requires. Now there's some nuances to that, but to do that, we just need to make this simple. And research has pointed out two very powerful elements to foods that are gonna make you feel very satiated, feel very full. And those are actually fiber and water, which raspberries have both of those. In fact, so do most whole foods, because whole foods, single ingredient foods, are going to have more fiber and more water content in them, and that actually helps to fill you up. And what's even better is that on top of it, there's very few calories to go along with that fiber and water. On top of the fact that you're just getting more micronutrients, as compared to something like, you know, a freeze-dried strawberry. Something like this, there's not much to it. Yep. That was almost 100 calories right there. But this entire bowl of raspberries is actually like 75 calories. So which is gonna leave you more full? A handful of these freeze-dried strawberries or this entire bowl of raspberries? Okay, but there's a third element that research has shown us that goes along with this fiber and water content that just packs the most powerful punch, and you're helpless without it. And that's actually just protein. Because protein is essential for building muscle. But on top of that, when you pair it with fiber and water, it's going to be insanely satiating. It's going to keep you feeling full, which allows you to maintain this deficit. But even more importantly than that, protein is going to help you to build muscle. And that muscle is what's going to keep this progress going even further. But even protein is not going to help you if you can't figure out this next mistake. And that's this idea that if I have one junk food, if I miss a workout, I'm off. I've completely failed. I've messed up. I have to start all over. Everything's been shut off, and now I have to turn it back on. Because did you know that 80% of people who make New Year's resolutions for weight loss and fail to accomplish those actually cite the all or nothing mentality as a main driver for the whole reason they failed? But here's the problem with this, is that people are looking at this as it's an on-off switch. I'm either on my game, doing things right, or I'm off. But what I had to learn over the years was to think about it less as an on-off switch. Instead, I had to look at my identity, who I was. So I had to get to the point of, who am I? I'm someone who's now pursuing my health. There's the switch. Regardless of what I'm doing, that is who I've decided to be. I'm someone who eats well. I eat protein. I'm someone who works out regularly. That's just who I am. And therefore, that's just what I do, whether or not I'm actively doing it at the time or not. Your identity drives your behaviors. I mean, simply ask this of someone who's lost like 100 pounds or more, and they will tell you that it had to start with a shift in who they were. But the final mistake is actually one of the biggest lies in the fitness industry that almost everyone believes. Now, I can almost guarantee that you believe workouts are to burn calories. But would you believe me if I told you that was actually wrong? Okay, now how fast do you think that I can eat this handful of chips? Well, we may as well see. All right, they're basically gone. Whew, a little dry. Okay, now do you know how long I have to actually work out to burn off the 160 calories that I just ate? Now, it's gonna depend on the type of exercise, but it's gonna take somewhere around 30 minutes at least. And I just ate that in less than a minute. So, I mean, you tell me what's easier, having to find more and more time to work out to burn more and more calories, or to spend less time on the right workouts, doing less and less, that actually helps you keep burning more and more calories even when you're not working out. The best way to do this is to teach your body to use calories versus just trying to use the workouts to burn calories. And so that's why over the years I've learned to just do things differently than the mainstream, focusing on the right type of workouts, building my metabolism, and then ultimately burning more calories as a result of it. And the best part is that you don't have to simply guess about what these workouts look like, because I took my decade of experience and put it all into a program that I've used for myself, my family, and for my own clients. And it's called the Real Life Bodybuilding Bundle. You'll get the most powerful exercises that are the best bang for your buck, and you've got video tutorials to go along with the whole thing so that you always know exactly what to do. It's all laid out for you. And on top of that, this isn't just one program, this is actually 4 programs so that you can pick the one that best is tailored to your life, and you can always be changing it up as well. Plus, you're also going to get a nutrition guide with some of the best tips that are out there for how to actually go about losing fat and building muscle, and you're gonna get a supplement guide as well, and everything that you need to finally feel like you can do this. But the cool thing is that you don't have to just take my word for it. You can try the entire first phase of the program, because I put it together in a playlist right up over here, so you can see how awesome the workouts actually feel and how simple this can actually be. Or you can click right over here to grab the full program. It's gonna be down in the description below. And as always, go get strong, but first, just go give your kids a hug, because frankly, I think that family matters way more than this, and I'll see you over here.